Okay.
Because we just jumped into it again. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. This is Past the Pilot episode 10. Johnny, can you believe it? We've been through 9 episodes so far.
I know. I know. 10, I feel like 10's a big number. We're in double digits now.
Yeah, we should probably pop a champagne or something. Hoping to get more people looking at this. And we get this feedback a lot from not people only from within the company Vertesia, but also from the outside. Once they realize that we're not just like giving you like a marketing view here, but this is really open heart surgery. We show you things which have not fully completed yet, but which are exciting. People say, "Oh wow, this is a great format." And yeah, hopefully we get more traction, but it's constantly growing. So let's get to it. Episode 10 will be really exciting. So let's get to it.
So we need to build
Um,
some PowerPoint slides, we realized before
yeah, we forgot to build some
the
PowerPoint
call.
slides and for the actual call past the pilot now, and I'm going to share my screen. We're gonna do that live here. So create a PowerPoint with 3 slides um, for today's episode of Past the Pilot, episode 10. We wanted to show OCR, advanced OCR with Vertesia. And you want to see, I'm doing this with the feature content maker, right? Which is not just like an assistant. It is basically, it's tapping into the feature database of Vertesia in order to fill out all the details.
Yep.
I hope we have OCR in the feature database already, but anyway, it should give us some slides. Number two, we want to show the document editing feature, agentic document editing. This is what we want to do. Agentic document editing feature. And three, we wanted to show the process engine, right? The process, the assistant process engine. And I was actually just going through a few things here, just to making sure I have that. So let's send it off. And within a minute or so, or two, maybe three, we should have like a cool PowerPoint slide.
Slides
I'm
to work with.
gonna edit this into the video, but this is really so what this one here in particular is doing, it's now going into the feature database that it's pulling from our GitHub every day. And then it's reading all the available features that we have, read from the documentation, fill in all the gaps, and then create hopefully some really cool slides that we can use at the beginning of this. And then we're going to show this one here at the end how we did it. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
that's
think
feature
Steph,
number four.
maybe talk a little more about the feature database.
Yes.
That's kind of your baby. And I think it's
Oh
brilliant.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think just
Okay.
for context.
Okay, let's give it some context. Okay, so let me quickly find a document because I really want to give some context around what this is doing. Feature database. Uh, no, what is it called? Um, Agentic. Content pipeline. Here it is. So basically, I was thinking about how can I make sure that we're constantly learning about new features on the platform and then be able to take that and one of these sources would surely be our GitHub where all our code repositories stored in, right? So I built an agent or three agents that work in tandem. One of them is a learner agent, so it picks up everything that we have in our GitHub. And then it's comparing that to what we already have in the feature database. And if there's an update, it will update it. It has a number of rules to identify if something is an existing feature we already have, if something is maybe just a bug fix or some minor tweak to an existing feature. Does it need to update the documentation? Or is it a brand new feature, right? Something we'd never had before. It's doing that every 24 hours, and then making the decision whether something needs to get added to the feature database or updated. And the key thing is here, this is coming back to our previous episode 9, right, where we talked about the context layer, Johnny. This is really about making sure that the agent that I want to work with, which is like a content persona, right? A content persona allowing me to map different business cases to identify within an industry, is there something where Vertesia could be providing a solution to specific problems, right? Different personas of being able to create content. Maybe there's a solution architect that I want to have as a persona that goes back into the feature database. I describe a problem, I describe something I need to have solved, and Vertesia will tap back into its own knowledge of its own making, so to speak, allowing you to develop a solution and come back with a very quick proof of concept for something that's already working. Or we're using this also extensively for marketing, right? So we're tapping into our own knowledge of what the platform is and how it works in order to create things like blogs, things like articles, condense information, create videos about the platform. So it's really the platform knowing itself and then giving that as an agent, as an assistant to the end user who can then work with it, just like with a partner from marketing, with a partner from technology, a solution architect, and also become very creative about it. So this is what I call the agentic content pipeline. And to give you just a quick view of what that really does, so the content pipeline really consists of a number of agents. The one of them is the feature, the GitHub Scout, as I call it. This one is going in, and it is basically going into. Let me find it. It should actually run every day here. This one here, it goes into the database. And it's searching for new things in GitHub and then identifies, is this a new feature? Is it in preview? Is it in development? Do I need to add it to the database? And if something is worth adding to the database, it's going to add that to the actual Vertesia feature database here, which is a DuckDB, something similar to a SQL database. And it's updating the tables with the features. So far, we have 117 features in this database, but not enough. Coming back to the context layer, the database, the SQL database, allows the agent to quickly identify a feature. But then when it identifies that this is a relevant content it wants to use, it is then identifying the actual document. I'm going to show you that as well. Going to find that feature. Oh, there's a lot. Uh,
So it's not just pulling info from the
right.
database. It's the database has high level information and then it points
Yes.
it to a more detailed document.
Yes.
Got it.
So this one here should, let me scroll down. Good. The feature documentation is the collection. And this basically where looking at such a feature where it goes into a very deep understanding of what is in GitHub with a technical overview, with the core capabilities, with the inter-system dependencies, some technicalities, but already with an analysis for this particular feature, how this will be targeting specific users in engineering, maybe in admin back office, for developers, for enterprise IT administrators. So it is identifying the target audience that this feature is valuable to in alignment or in the context of the platform itself. So this is what it's doing in the background, preparing, coming back to the semantic doc prep that we talked about, preparing for the content to be digested by an agent who has a certain persona to work with me in order to create content. So now coming back to our baby here, which we had started, the assistant, and we said like, okay, create me a PowerPoint. It still takes a moment. It's not fully ready yet because it's all
It says the slides look fantastic. So it looks like
yeah.
it created them. It's reviewing them
Yeah.
before it's going to give it to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And Vertesia's the assistants are always validating their own work, right? So it's never just going to be an LLM, fire and forget, one off. No. Everything is staged, and you see this here in the task progress. So when I give it a task, it's gonna it's gonna, there it is. Here are my presentation slides. Okay. So the first version is a PDF. We can start looking at that, giving me again an overview, and then also coming back to the feature database, right? It tells me exactly which features are being used here, right? And I'm really excited to see what that means as it created this. So for now, it created a PowerPoint, or I want a PowerPoint, but in the beginning, it will create like a PDF of this. So here's the advanced OCR, and yes, it knows exactly how Vertesia is working in the background. So this is the first one we want to show today. There's a page level provenance, there's an OCR component to it, citation, and so on. We're going to get into this in a moment. The second one is agentic document editing. So how are we doing that? And what does that look like? And then the final one is the process engine. And I mean, this is great.
These
We can
slides
use
look
this
so
right
much
away,
better than anything I would create on my own.
right?
So
And
I mean,
especially
I
within,
would spend a whole week and my slides would not look half this.
yes, just did it in a few minutes now. However, it didn't create my PowerPoint. Hey, where is my PowerPoint file I asked for? It forgot something, so happens to the best of us. Like, so now it's going to convert that into PowerPoint as well. But I think, Johnny, we can use this now in order
Yeah.
to show and to
Yep.
work with it. Let me reduce this here, and maybe we can make it a bit bigger so it's more like screen filling. And then let's start talking about the features. Um, I'm not sure, Johnny, if you had full access to this feature yet. It's still, so the stuff we're showing today is pretty exciting because it's still in development but very close to release.
Yeah, I'm actually
So
excited because this stuff I've seen a very small amount, and so this is all uh, new really for me. So this is an exciting episode because I really don't know
yeah.
what's behind the curtain for today.
Okay, cool. Well, then I think we're both equally excited because this is like a top edge development at the edge of development at Vertesia is just coming out of our labs and going into we say we merge it into main. So we will have it in production very, very soon. So the first one really is advanced OCR. And if we think about optical character recognition the traditional way, Johnny, right? We've all been dealing with this for a long, long time. And OCR, yeah, you can upload a document, but it would surely identify certain text in there. But because you're coming from the analog world, the documents will be wrinkled. They will have smeary text that cannot read, that's not legible. Even a person trying to read it is not really sure. And now coming back to that whole preparing and semantic doc prep, preparing documents in order to have a clean context layer is one of the hardest things. So this is where Eric came up with a new way of doing agentically supported OCR. And really what it does, it's an OCR and vision fusion. So it's the combination of OCR and a vision model and an LLM to reason about what is it that we're looking at, what is information that needs to get extracted. And here comes the kicker. How is it aligned with the, we talked about document schemas and metadata schemas that automatically get inferred. So what if I have, let me jump into this right away. What if I have an invoice, like this one here? I have an invoice, no, that's not the one. Like this one here. I have an invoice like this one here. And yeah, this is a clean one, but it could also be because it was generated from a text, but it could also be a scan. So we uploaded a PDF that is been vectorized. It doesn't have text really. So we OCR this document. But then how do you get to the point where you turn it into metadata, right? And this is one of the most important pieces when you import documents such as an invoice. You need to make sure that each line here, Johnny, right? has the right balance, the right amount in this case. Because guess what? If your invoice has a wrong amount in here and you want to ingest that into your banking system or into your general ledger or whatever, you're going to run into problems. And this is the reason why many companies are deploying a lot of offshore resources in order to check all incoming invoices, making sure there are corrections. And these people typically would type the data into something like a financial system or double checking the invoice. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of mundane work, and it's still very error prone because if you do that with just a person having to do that, it is still a challenge. So how do we do this, Johnny? I know you're going to freak out. So looking at the PDF document here, right? We now do a full analysis, and we call this a grounded extraction. And the ground extraction will make sure that every attribute here in the schema of the document will be verified. And you see here, it right now has a verification confidence of 93%. But we're not doing this only for the document. I'm going to click on this now. We're doing this for every single field that we identify on there.
Wow.
So when you click on something here, you're going to see on the right-hand side what the model actually has read, how the metadata attribution has assigned it to a schema element, and then also what is the actual confidence score on each of these. So let's say this is a handwritten document, right? What is the confidence score, not only on what the OCR found or the OCR is reading in terms of the text, but it's also making a plausibility verification. So this is supposed to be an invoice, right? So what are the elements that an invoice should definitely have and what makes sense in terms of what text should be present? And then mapping that to the schema. Uh, this is
Yeah,
this
one
is just
one thing that's
yeah.
one thing that's standing out to me that's really interesting is the statement period start has a lower confidence score than the statement period end. And my assumption is because the statement of period end has explicitly has the 2024 right there.
Yes.
And
Yes, sir.
the model's inferring that it's going to be September 1st of the same year. But I think that's really interesting because as a human looking at that, I get it. Like I understand, okay, September 1st, but it's not explicitly spelled out. So the model's basically calling out it made a little bit of an assumption here, which in that case is a correct assumption. But I think that's really, really interesting because it,
Yeah.
it has like a semantic understanding of the entire document and it's using that to apply its
Yeah.
confidence score to the
And it's
specific.
spot on, Johnny. You
Yeah.
figured it out immediately, right? So September 1st of which year? 1974, right?
Yeah.
So no, it identifies like, hey, there's a discrepancy in the quality of the data here. And this is really what it's doing. So whatever you click here, you will be immediately able to identify that. And not only this, Johnny. So we are now able to now that we have the analysis, right, we are able to trigger our event bus based on this and kick off a workflow which will mark this document, for example, for a human review, right? So we're going to trigger off an event bus that's going to create like a review process for this particular document in order to send it out to a person who needs to review it. The other, and maybe it's really only this data that the person needs to review because everything else with a confidence of 100% that has checked all the boxes. So this makes it extremely powerful. As we talked about the context layer, it's not just like oh yeah, we OCR sort of a batch of last night and import all the documents, right? This is happening in real time. The moment the document gets uploaded, we're going to analyze it. It's going to go through the entire semantic doc prep we talked last time. And the OCR component here, if that is enabled for this particular type of document, it's gonna do the full analysis and then be able to trigger additional actions based on that. It's just
Yeah,
this is the way that.
I
Yeah.
see the at the top something that caught my eyes. It says complexity 2%, and I'm assuming is that like how complex the document is, which is really
Yes.
powerful because then a company can say anything that's over,
Yeah.
70% complexity, we want to automatically review, right? Or anything under this complexity, we have enough faith that it's gonna extract the right information. So I think that's really cool too, because I would imagine if this was a scanned document with some handwritten signatures, the complexity would be probably higher, right? And
Yeah.
so the system basically understands, what it's looking at like holistically, which I think is what makes this so powerful.
Right. In the context of the nature of the document that you're looking at.
Yep. Yep.
That's so a little bit more behind how we're doing advanced OCR. So there's also what we call the checkerboard. I hope it's loading now. And again, this is like development version. It might not show me, but basically what checkerboard is, we're creating like a grid, and the grid to make sure that everything in the document is aligned, right? So to really, yeah, like a checkerboard you play chess on. So to really come to that confidence that when we're reading a text that's maybe a little bit vertical or something, we can get that right in. Okay, so yeah, that's a very powerful feature for feeding semantic doc prep, for feeding into your content repository before you would even have an assistant or an agent work with this. So then the next thing I think we want to show, coming back to that today in our Pass the Pilot episode 10, is agentic document editing. Johnny, is that something you would like to show?
I don't know if I have access to this stuff. I have like
Oh,
this is
okay.
all this is all very cutting edge stuff to me.
Okay. Let me see. We need to, okay. Agentic document editing. So let's get into this. So if you are um, looking at an output document that an agent would create when you're working with it, it would typically create an MD file, a markup file, or a PowerPoint file, or a Word document, or whatever, and that would be like a fixed output. But now we're taking this to the next level where I can work with the agent and directly edit the documents as I'm working on them. So agentic document editing, right? So this is a really cool feature that allows us to edit documents together with an assistant. Because once you create a document as an output, so far you would have to, yeah, you would download it and then you would edit it manually in the text editor, in the Google Doc, wherever. But now we built this right into the platform. And Johnny, this is really, really cool because it helps you to not only edit the whole document, and maybe that's the difference really to something like a Google Gemini Canvas, where this would always regenerate the entire document. We can do this in pieces. So let's jump into this and see what this is. So this is one document that we asked an assistant to actually create like an overview, do some internet research, create an overview of Google, right? It's a very high level document here. So now I can just like in a regular text editor, I can go in here and edit this text, right? So word by word, line by line, do that all myself. But now here comes the actual kicker. Now we have agentic editing, so edit with AI, and this is where it becomes really, really, really cool. So I can do this as the start editing. So I can either give it like a change description here of what I wanted to change, and this is something we've seen with other editors out there. But if we go into the full editor now, it starts identifying. So it starts editing a working copy, first of all. We can now go into the document, and as you see, we are now breaking the documents into different paragraphs. Not document paragraphs, but working paragraphs, right? So for example, I want to work on the key milestones. I want to add some more. So far, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 key milestones. I want to make this 10 milestones. Uh, do some internet research of what would work best here. And then send it off. So now I'm giving an assistant a specific paragraph within a document and telling it to go search the internet, find what's relevant. I want to do this at 10 milestones. And I keep working on moving forward with corporate structure, right? For example, I might say like, hey, corporate structure, this is way too short. Uh, Make this more verbose, both, let's say 200 words, 300 words on the history of the evolution of the corporation.
This is
Send this
really
off.
this is really powerful, I think, because it's not retyping or recreating the entire document every time. Because I've had issues where I've used LLMs to make an edit and it
Yeah.
edits what I wanted, but then it also changed something in like the last paragraph or the first
And
paragraph or both.
it, Yeah, and it's also in the way that you when you work with Google Gemini and the Canvas feature, which is amazing, right? But
Mhm.
it will regenerate the entire document times and again. You are losing your context inside the document. What am I looking at, right? So the moment you do that with Gemini, boom, you are gone, and your eyes are not focused on what you've been editing, right? It's a constant forth and back from a UX perspective, an absolute nightmare, right? So we and you just keep editing now. So for YouTube, Johnny, what shall we change about YouTube? What do you want to see here?
Um, let's see if we can add more information around YouTube's revenue. Click that. Is that
So this is the
I
editor that you
see.
can do yourself,
Got it.
right? And then let's edit with AI. Thinking. No, this is not what we want. We wanted to update it. Oh, okay. Here we go.
There we go.
So now it has updated the corporate structure according to what we wanted, right? So here's all the additional information we've been asking for, a history of the corporate structure. We asked it to give us way more detail on YouTube, on the revenue, and on the revenue model as well. So that has been updated. Um, and also when there's multiple references inside the document where this kind of information needs to be revised, it's going to do that across the entire document, Johnny. It's not only doing it in the one paragraph here. So, for example, if I said like, hey, go out and replace the 2024 numbers with 2019, it would do
Mhm.
that throughout the document if I asked it to do it. So it's not only
Ah.
fixing on focusing on one specific part here. Um, yeah, this is so powerful. I can't wait to see the full feature in action. And as we said, like depending on the model, Claude Sonnet is not the best model for this. Dep when you switch to a different model here, I think Grok is the current one that's the fastest with replying. This is almost a real-time editing when this feature is ready. So this is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think it's worth calling out too that we're in studio right now. We're in the dev environment of
Yeah,
studio, but
yeah,
this is going to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume this is going to be like every other feature we develop where it's API first. So if a client wants to embed this in their own application, or if they want to create a custom application with this, the capabilities we see here are in studio, but they're transferable to virtually any application. Is that fair to
yes,
say?
yes. Yes, this is like the foundational code that we built for this, but it's really a plugin. So we're looking at it from the point of view of Studio right now, as you say, but it will be part of our assistant application, and clients are also able to deploy this directly into their existing custom applications. All
Yeah,
right.
this is going to be
So
very.
when once things are done, we can say summarize changes. And now we're going to see all the updates and changes that have been deployed. That's also a really nice feature, something that we know from a collaboration from like Word documents. So where I can now see exactly all the changes that have been done to it.
This is going to be really, really powerful for, I think, like contracts and legal documents
Yeah.
because all the changes that people want to make are going to be tracked. And I also think the ability for it to understand the context of the entire document. So if you change, I don't know, let's say a clause in one area and that same clause is referenced later in the document, it will know to update that. I think that's going to be really, really cool. I know selfishly I'm excited for this because I've had issues where I need to download a document and then make changes
Oh
when
yeah,
I upload
I have
it.
it all the time.
And
You're writing an article, whatever it is, or to your point, you're writing on a maybe a financial statement document or a legal contract or whatever, right? And you have to check like, hey, oh, we need to make this change across 200 pages, right?
yeah.
How do you even identify where all this is? Like, yeah, you use Command F to find some text in there. And then no, the new way of doing this is really with an assistant helping you to do that, right? So it's your personal copywriter in a way, but now it has another powerful tool that can not just spit out new documents, it can not just edit documents, but it can contextually change documents with a full-blown editor that just works beautifully. All right, so this is agentic document editing. Still in the pipeline, but coming very soon. Again, we're kind of de demonstrating today, like high level, what's coming. And the final piece we wanted to show to you today is really the assisted process engine. I think I think Johnny, we talked about it in a previous episode about how we have a way now to have an assistant help us build a hybrid process. And that there's also an article I think that I wrote about it. So the key problem is when you want to do process automation. You typically would have other tools which give you like a visual way of editing your workflow. In a similar way that you see it here on the right-hand side, you create a start and then you have all these different nodes, and there might be decision nodes, or there might be human nodes in there for review processes, or you might actually do this now in the world of AI. You are daisy chaining a number of LLM actions, read document, do an analysis, give it a prompt, use the output of that, channel that into the next node, do another processing. But the problem with that is that these are highly programmatic um, workflows that you create there. So the moment something changes, the moment a data set is ingested into the process that it doesn't expect, it's going to fail. On the other hand, you have like so that's a deterministic workflow, right? It's very prone, it's very error prone. The other one might be that you still have your human processes, but they have the problem that they have a lot of friction. They're rather slow. People need to review things manually. Um, they don't have uh, they don't have necessarily always the time to do it. So your processes slow down as people have to communicate via email because you cannot fully trust the machine to do it. So this is where Vertesia built what we call a hybrid process engine. It allows you to generate processes just like the flow chart you see on the right, but then have decisions in there where you might have a what we call a supervisor pattern. That's really an autonomous agent reasoning about the best next step or reasoning about the outcome of something and repeating a step, for example. Or correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, identifying if there was a change in the data that now requires maybe a change in the routing.
Yeah, I think I saw it on the slide. It says not fully agentic, not fully coded, the productive middle ground. In the
Mhm.
slide, the agent obviously came up with that for this slide, but I think that's a good way to put it. Is there's there's pros and cons to a workflow being deterministic, and there's pros and cons to something being fully agentic. And this process engine lets you get the best of both worlds because you get the determinism of, this condition absolutely has to be satisfied before moving on. right? Whereas autonomous agents are great when they're narrowly focused, and as they get broader and broader, right, they become less deterministic. And so I think this is a really good example of a way where agents can be used in a production environment for really complex tasks. Because, I mean, you could have, and I haven't done this yet, I've been wanting to play around with it more, but you could have, I mean, 10 different agents, right? And have a really complex workflow and have different conditions and have human in the loop, right, between every agent or between certain agents. And so I think there's just so many possibilities with this. And I haven't seen anything else like this uh, with any other technology where it's this kind of hybrid approach.
Right. And it really adds this autonomy that you want to supervise the agent the sort of deterministic process. You want to have it supervised by an agent, but keep the human in the loop. And that's really the element where both worlds come together. Um, yeah, again, I'm going to link also the article that covers that in way more detail. But really, the cool thing now is that we have integrated that into two new ways into the Vertesia platform. Number one, and just wanted to show you this, going to our Vertesia Studio, what I can do here, I can use our new Studio Assistant. Um, our new Studio Assistant which basically is a way to to um, to manage the studio itself. So it helps you to create agents, to manage all the elements that you see here in Studio. And one super powerful way of creating new processes is by simply going in here and say like, hey, I need to create a new process for an approval workflow with 3 steps. And the first one would be upload a PDF document to summarize the document. I'm just gonna some very high level here, summarize the document. 3, human review, and 4, store the summary as a PDF document in the object store, right? So this might be something very simple that I would like to create a process for. And the agent, and I did this before, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So the agent went ahead and created this. I think it's this one here. Uh, it's not this one here. That's something else. I need to filter for my own. Uh,
Oh, yeah, it might not be running anymore.
Yeah, it might not be running anymore. I have to filter initiated by Stefan. So, Studio Assistant, I think it's this one here. Yes. So, and I had the agent do this run before. So use the process engine to create a simple 3-step process. And it will go in and it will now make use of, just like a person would do it, use Studio, the UI that we're looking at, but use the API version of that in the background in order to create all the necessary objects within Vertesia, plan out what the, for example, context schema should be, right? So what fields would we need in such a process? Um, define the different nodes for that workflow. Define what the human task element in all of this is. And this is really just like an LLM in the background, thinking about like how to use the Vertesia platform in order to create everything that we're looking at. So, but the output of this, I'm just showing you the reasoning here and the planning of the task of creating the process or the workflow. Really, what it has created based on my little prompt here, it has created a PDF summary pipeline, and it looks like this. And this is where it gets really interesting because I didn't have to manually create this diagram here with all the nodes and define what's happening with a human task, where's an AI interaction. So just based on my little prompt, the Vertesia platform has built itself. It has built the process by itself. Summary is ready to approve the summary, defining the task, defining the schema types which are necessary in order to do this, and then route the decision and generate the final report. So, Johnny, have you seen this before?
I have seen this, yes, and I've actually used this. We had a customer that had a very complex diagram. It was interesting. It was a diagram that they had mapped out a workflow, but it wasn't an existing workflow. It was one they wanted to build. And we were able to take that image, feed it to the assistant, and basically say, analyze this image, understand the workflow that's being described, and then create that workflow. And again, it wasn't 100% ready off that first prompt, but we got it ready within a day. Just by prompting the agent and kind of tweaking things with natural language. So
Coming
it's
back to the
wild.
way that we talked about, Johnny, about the new ways of working, right? We are not describing necessarily the steps to get there. We can give a problem to the assistant, and the assistant is going to find out the best way to get there. For example, by creating a process like this.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Uh, so it's auto-generating a process in this case in order to route the PDF summary. And I could just go in here and now run this here in the processes. I could just go in and run a process, an existing process from the pipeline, and have to fill it all out and stuff. So maybe that's something you want to do in your custom application. You want a form to pop up and do this. But now we've taken a step further, Johnny, and this is where it gets really interesting. And I only got to see this earlier this week, where I can now go into Vertesia Assistant, this Vertesia Assistant, which is like a very sophisticated agent environment that at the surface looks like a chat, but it's way more. And it really allows you to run different agentic, not just personas, but different processes now. So what I can start here, I can say, okay, I want to start a new process in this pipeline. And step number one in this case would be to upload the PDF, right? In order to speed it up a little bit, I've done this already, and you see all the processes you've been running here, just like you would see all the chats you've been running here, right? For example, in this one here, I was comparing, this is a work stream where I'm comparing OKF and creating like an article for open knowledge format against the what we can do with the Vertesia platform. Now the same what is a conversation history now turns into a process history. And process history allows me to come back and review the process. And now this is really amazing because what we're looking at here will dynamically be generated as a UI as the process continues. So just to give you an idea what we're going to look at now when I'm doing that. So I want to start a new process pipeline and starting the process, it has a first step. Going to kick in now. And my first task is to upload a PDF document. Let's make it small here. So I submitted this, and you see right away how the agent here in the conversation pane over there starts picking up the work in order to work through the process. So you can see actually how the agent is working through the thinking, how it's working through the different steps, and how it's detecting any problems, for example, that came up. So it's working through a problem right now with the PDF. So it already created like the summarization that I asked it for. Great. The key points, the conclusion, the next steps. And now it's asking me to review the document and take a decision on it. So I will be able to review this document, open the process, review this document, and then give it a decision whether we want to move on and approve this and turn this actually into a document that we then want to store in the object store. That's a super simple process. It's nothing big, but the power here really is, Johnny, just we described a very simple three-step process, but we really invoked that process from within Assistant.
Yep.
So, and you can do the same thing by just asking Assistant with a new conversation to say like, hey, I need to review this PDF document, right? And you just fire and forget, and it's going to kick off the process in the background. This
Yeah,
is
well,
where it becomes powerful.
yeah, one thing that I really like about our process engine approach as well is you can run it programmatically, but you can also run it, and you mentioned this earlier, but I want to kind of I think reiterate it because it's so powerful. You can run it with an agent. And what I mean by that is an agent will run the process for you. And so what that allows you to do is if something changes, let's say it's taking in data, right? And that data changes and the process breaks. Well, if the agent's running it, it will actually recognize that, it'll troubleshoot the error and it will fix it in real time
Yes.
so that you
Yes.
don't have to get alerted. And I used to do a lot of workflows like this where I would have pager duty and I would get woken up at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning because something in the process had broken. And I think
Mhm.
what this now allows you to do is avoid those pager duty calls, at least most of them, because the agent can just troubleshoot the data and say, oh, I see the problem. There's a missing comma in that data set, right? Let me adjust this and restart the workflow without
Yeah.
any human intervention.
Yeah. Yeah. Or let's say your infrastructure has a timeout at some point, right? That
Yep.
would in a normal programmatic way that would just kill your workflow. You would wake up in the morning and see like it stopped two at night. And it would not have resumed that because it was missing something or really just like an infrastructure timeout. It go back and do it again. And we're using Temporal for a lot of these things to really make sure the agents are resilient against any outages. But to your point, also identifying errors in the data itself, correcting itself. And I've seen this many times and also in development, Johnny, where we're creating an agent in order to perform a task. And then in the agent run, yeah, it will create the output, but in the agent run, the agent identifies there's a problem.
Hmm.
Maybe with even with the prompting, with the coding, with whatever we have done in order to create this agent, it fixes and corrects itself in the run and tells you how to improve upon itself. We talked about the self-improving prompts, right?
Hmm.
Self-improving agents. It's doing that on the fly because it wants to achieve the result that you asked it to produce. Yeah, that's just insane. Okay, I want to come back to the beginning, Johnny, because there was a final thing that we asked it to do. So it created a PDF. Fair enough, right? But we really said we want this to be a PowerPoint. So here is the PowerPoint format. It did that
Fully editable
fully
PowerPoint.
editable PowerPoint, um, just the way we've seen it before.
Yep. Awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, really, really nice. We could have also said, I'll put this as an HTML, right?
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
just is great. Yeah. All right, Johnny, thank you so much. Now I'm going to record the opening
Okay.
because we just jumped into it again. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. This is Past the Pilot episode 10. Johnny, can you believe it? We've been through 9 episodes so far.